Because the cross braces are orange, which haven't come in yet, I figured I would paint the hinges orange as well. Dad had some nice Chevy engine block orange paint that was brand new, and he said I could use it, so I shot these. I made my own little paint spray booth here, trying to get too much overspray, and I think they came out really nice. Well, I think the next step that we should do is mark for the biscuits. We're going to do a double number 20 biscuit in each of the 4 joints on each of the legs. So a couple of things that we need to point out here. I do want to measure the center because the distance, let's see, the distance from here to here is kind of critical. The biscuit is pretty big, so I want to measure it. I don't just want to guess. I want to measure it so it's right in the middle. So it can be there and then on the other side. And then I figured, I kind of looked at the photo from the magazine, and I kind of figured that about 15 inches down from the inside of this was about the right dimension. So somewhere around there. So I'm just going to go 15 inches down. Mark. So let's go ahead and mark this up. But before we do that, I want to show you the biscuit joiner and the setup for that measure. So because we're going to do a double biscuit here, usually it's set up for 3/4. This is 1 inch. So rather than go down for a 3/4 inch piece, go down 3/8, we're going to kind of consider this as like 2 half-inch pieces together. And we sort of want the biscuit slot to be cut in the center of each one of those half-inch ones. So setup. Of course, you have the number 20. Make sure this is at the right angle. But the thing that we need to look at is this right here. There's an arrow, that's for 3/4. I moved this down to the next, and then I ran a sample piece. So I made sure I'm going to be right in the middle. So I found that it was easiest just to clamp all these together, because it's kind of hard to keep 4 pieces all together while you're clamping them up. And I kind of came across the idea of just going to clamp these together, then nothing moves, and then I can make sure that I get all of my lines in the right spot. All right, so I've got the 2 clamps on. This is 15 inches on both sides, and I can mark my centers here. Then I can flip it over and do the other side while it's all coming together. And one of the other things I want to do is kind of stand this up, step back, and make sure that the location of this brace makes sense, just kind of from a stepping back point of view. And the other thing I'm going to do is mark the sides. So I'm going to make this a 1. And then when I turn it over, I'm going to make that side 2. Okay. Right here. Okay. Guess it would help to plug it in. Man. Always something. There we go. We have liftoff. Flip it over. And I think we should do some fast motion now. I have everything here on the glue up table laid out. All the biscuits are done, and the rest is just glue. Just glue and biscuits, and then clamp. So another fast motion, go. All right, so we're just going to put this aside to dry. It's really warm and dry here in Arizona. So I think usually I leave it overnight. Probably 8 hours would be completely bone dry. Making sure the top of this is really even, because that's the part that's going to be, used a lot. And we just have to do this 3 more times. So it's probably overkill, being that we have a double number 20 biscuit in each one of these corners. But I don't know, this is going to take a lot of force and possibly break right here, and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is counterbore these and put in a screw. Found these really cool screws in my dad's garage. I don't know what the head is called, and then they have like sort of a self-drilling thing. Yeah. And I have the bit set to about this deep. Okay. So I'm going to go here. Don't move my camera, please. Don't move my camera. So I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to kind of eyeball where the center of this is, vertically and horizontally. And then we'll just drill this down to the tape mark. And then we'll do that on all corners. Now the trick here is to find the right bit. I was able to rummage through a bunch of things and find the right bit that fits.
Is that your drill motor or is that one?
This is mine. And then the other trick is to kind of keep this straight. It sort of has a drilly tip on it, and so if you can set it right in the tip of where that brad point is going, and then kind of get it started, and then make sure you're going straight. So then we'll just do that on all corners of the rest of the pieces. So the next step we're going to do is just give this thing a quick sand on all sides with the random orbital, thanks to Dad's shop again. And one of the nice things about this is I really don't have to wear a mask because it does a really good job of sucking up all of the dust and putting it into this little bag. So we'll just kind of do that, and then after I do that, I'm just going to hit the edges with my sanding block just to break the edges a little bit and kind of get it ready for finish. But that really should be it. And that's really about it. Things to do. And then after that, we'll just do some assembly, the hinges, and then the cross braces aren't going to be here for several days. Amazon, I think they're coming all the way from China. Anyway, that's cool. I think I'm going to do some sanding on this and then go for a ride on my mountain bike and enjoy the beautiful Arizona fall.
Early the next morning.
I can feel you mocking me. I know, this is stupid. Why is he finishing the sawhorses? I don't know why I'm doing this either. I have an old can to use up. I don't really have anything to do. So I don't really have an explanation, I guess, as to why I'm doing this. I don't have a good reason. I have no way to back this up. No way to justify it, rationalize it, or otherwise make it make any sense at all. We've got one coat of finish on all of these pieces here, and the first coat always makes it a bit rough because it pulls up all those fibers. And I have a piece of 320 here that I just folded in half, and all you have to do is give it a quick sand, probably about that much, and then it's really smooth. So I'm just finishing up the second coat on the sawhorses here. Come on, can't you give me a break? One break. Coming up. Name that song. Everybody quick. I can feel you judging me. Hey, I never said I was the hero of this story. So assembling the hinges, I went through a few different ideas that I was going to do. I started off with these really small screws, and I thought, you know, those are pretty wimpy, and this is going to take a lot of abuse. So I found these brass ones. You know, it's probably more expensive than I need to use, but Dad said I could use whatever I want, and I found them, and I think these will about 3/4. And what I was really conscious is the diameter of the head to make sure these were going to sit nice and flush. I don't want the head sticking up so it impedes with the hinge closing, because they're mostly going to be like that when the sawhorse is closed, and then when it's open it's only going to be at 17 degrees. So that's about the full travel from closed to there that this hinge is going to do. So to orient the hinge, I came up with this system where I put a couple of blocks of wood on clamps, and it's aligned with this surface of the sawhorse. So when I clamp this on and when I have the other piece on, it's all going to be one flat surface. And part of the flat surface is going to be the knuckle of this hinge. And so I don't want the knuckle sticking up. So when I put something on the sawhorse, it hits the knuckle and maybe damage the knuckle or maybe grooves the workpiece. And I don't want it below either, because then there'll be a gap. Why not use this surface as part of your surface here? So we have probably 2¼ inches of flat on the top of this sawhorse once we're done. And we'll go ahead and put all the rest of the screws in, and then I think we'll be good to go. So they're set to 5. You don't want it too much huevos going into these screws. And we'll go ahead and put all the rest of the screws in just like that. Okay, then getting our setup here on our other side, and we'll just do the same thing. Mark all the holes, pre-drill, and screw. Then we'll bring over the other and put it in the previously drilled screw holes. On each side, we can kind of test fit it. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and put all the rest. Let's do the time warp again. All right, so we got all the screws in. Wow, that fits great. Okay. Well, they are a bit heavy for sawhorses. They've got some heft to them, which I hope equates to strength. And really cool. The only thing we're missing are the cross braces, which I'm sure will be along shortly. So according to our plan, if we put this in the center of the leg, hey buddy, you want to go for a walk, huh? Okay, so this is centered there, 20 inches right there. Then this should be 30.5. What do you think, buddy? Is it? And so, bam, right there, 30.5. So I think that's pretty good. And let's measure the other one as well. All right, so finally, the cross braces have arrived. Talk about your slow boat to China. I think I bought these like 2 weeks ago, but they're really cheap. And they came with this hardware, which is pretty cool. It's a locking nut, nylock, which is pretty cool. So I will use those for something else, but I won't be able to use them for this project because we're going to be going into the end of a piece of wood. So what I need to do is find some screws, wood screws that I can put in there, maybe some washers to fit between these and the wood, and maybe a little grease. And then I need to show you the location, how we're going to locate them, and I'll show you that now. So these cross pieces are supposed to be 12 inches on center for the holes. So let's first of all make sure that they are that. Let's You know, about is fine. It doesn't have to be exact. And they are actually a little bit big. Wow, okay. So they are 12.5 inches. Okay. All right, I was going crazy with the measurements and calculating the trig and Pythagorean theorem with all these different websites and stuff. And it was kind of hurting my brain. I was getting a headache. So what I did is I just made sure that the spread of the two legs was where I wanted it, so that they sit flat on the floor. And my height, because that's the real thing, is my height at 30.5 was right. And then I kind of leveled up the holes that I had drilled in there to mount the cross pieces were pretty accurate. And so I just kind of visually matched it up with about how much, and I put a center line down the center of each leg and then just kind of matched it up, and then it sort of worked out with the measurements that I'd calculated. So I think I'm going to go with that, and we will continue on. Okay, so here's my setup. I'm going to use these washers, and then over here I'm going to use these screws so they'll kind of center themselves most of the way in, but not tight. And then I was looking for some grease, and I found it. I'll pilot hole with a little Forstner bit. What is it, Brad? All right, so we're just going to very carefully and accurately putting this right in the center. Very accurately right in the center. Let's put a little bit of grease on both sides and a washer. So let's just do this kind of thing. That works cool. It's like not loose, but yet it lets it collapse. Looks like it's hitting a little bit on that, but I think that's going to be okay. Cool. Neat. I could probably get a screwdriver and give that a little tighten until we feel some drag on it, and then we'll do the other side. Okay, I think that's just about right. Okay, so now if we want to match the other side, I think if I just took a measurement. All right, so just measuring kind of the center of the leg. It's going to be somewhere around here, between here and here. I think that's... Well, that was a really fun project. I like everything about it. They're not too heavy, but they're really, really strong and sturdy. The cross braces are orange, which I kind of liked, and I painted the hinge to match, and that, it's not exactly the same color, but it's close enough. They seem to open and close really nicely. They sit really flat and sturdy on the floor, enough to hold me and probably a lot more stuff throughout the years. So I think that just about does it for Scott's Garage. I hope you had fun watching this project. I had a lot of fun making it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.